Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 4 of the Fork Fix podcast. I'm Cheri, and this episode is titled, Do You Need an Accountability Partner? So, okay, couple questions. Are you starting a whole food plant-based diet? Or maybe you've started a whole food plant-based diet and you're struggling a little bit. You're struggling to stay on board. You're struggling to make forward movement. And the big question is, are you in it for health? And do you need to lose weight? So if you say yes to any of those things, any or all, then you know what? You need an accountability partner. And I am going to talk about that just a little bit because I really didn't have someone. When I first started eating whole food plant-based, I knew absolutely jack point bleep about any of it, really. And I knew no one. I watched Forks Over Knives. I was inspired by the stories. I felt motivated. I thought if these people can do this and this really works, I can give it a shot. And probably within, I would say the first 2 weeks, I knew this is something different. This is different than the keto. This is different than the Atkins, different than Weight Watchers, different than Noom, different than Nutrisystem, different than all of the things that I had tried before. Within a few weeks, I knew that. But something else I knew. I had full support of my family. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But I knew I needed some accountability. And I really wanted to be successful. Now, I knew nothing. So this isn't coming from a place of, oh, I know statistically, blah, 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 blah. And that's why I need an accountability, like a way to be accountable. I just knew innately, I knew that I've got to do something so that I'm like thinking about how it's going or talking about it or doing something. But I didn't know anyone. I hadn't even joined any in all of the bazillion Facebook groups that I'm in today. But I knew I needed to do something. And going back to the family, my family was so supportive from the get-go. My husband jumped on board maybe a day after me. My oldest daughter that lives with us, she was right in there too. And then slowly the rest of the children but they've all been just like, they're cheerleaders. They've just been so supportive. No one has been negative about me on this journey. And they've all pretty much, they're either, if they're not whole food plant-based, they're vegan, except for my oldest son and then my oldest daughter that does not live here. They're still not. So I'm a mama who's going to work on that. But anyways, so I had that support. And you know what? You really do need your family's support. But I'm here to say, though, not having the experience of not having that, I do think if this is something you want to do, you can do it. You can find it within you to do it. I know that that's going to be one hell of a struggle if you don't have your family's support. But when it comes to moving forward with making such a big change, and I can tell you it's really simple, that this thing was all simple, but there's a lot of things that go through your head when you're doing something different than you always done and doing something different than the majority of what everyone else is doing. So it is good to try to figure out a way to have some accountability. So about week 3, when I started, I had in my past life, actually, prior to being obsessed with whole food plant-based living, I used to own a art studio. I did crafting videos. My Facebook page is still up, and it was called The Bant Life. If you want to check it out, you can. There's some pretty funny stuff on there, and you can see how different I look too. But anyways, crafting was my thing, right? So I had already gotten into like the video aspect. I had done these videos and things. So in my mind, I thought, what could I do so that I could keep myself accountable, like how my weeks are going and share it. And I'm not really, although I have a blog now, you can check that out. There's a little plug on the forkfix.com. You can check out the blogs. And I do enjoy writing, but it's not, I find I've always wanted to journal, and I start it and I stop it and I start it and I stop it. And so I knew that if I did that, I probably wouldn't stick with it. So I decided to do the YouTube videos like I'm doing now. You can see this on YouTube, or I'm also doing this, as a podcast on Spotify or any other place where you listen to podcasts. So Really no different than what I'm doing right now, talking to you if you're listening. But really what I did is I started recording myself and I was talking to myself. And I thought, well, if there's somebody out there, because I could already feel that this was going to be a big deal and probably be a life changer for me within those first few weeks. And I wanted to document it. I wanted to document how it would go, good, bad, and ugly. So I did that. I did it on YouTube because, guys, I didn't have any friends. Not gonna lie, that's really the thing. So I'm talking like, if you're listening to this now, I just thought, well, you're my imaginary friend and you're listening, and I didn't get feedback, but at least I had that accountability. So every week I could share how my week was going, week by week, what I liked, what I didn't like, and as though I'm talking to someone else, and that worked for me. And I've really went through and analyzed how this whole journey for me in the last 9 months has been, because as of now, like this morning, I've lost 89 pounds. 89 freaking pounds. That's insane to me. That's insane. That should be like an infomercial. And that's kind of why I'm doing this, because I thought, well, maybe I'm doing something different that maybe someone else can't do. And I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot by taking the plant-based nutrition course, and I did my certification for holistic nutrition and all of these things. But I thought, oh, I want to be able to pick apart what I did so that I can help other people do that too. And I started thinking, well, one of the things is just having someone's ear, or finding a way that you can be accountable, if it not to someone else, to yourself, so that you could stay motivated in the journey, because you're going to have ups and downs in anything you do in life. And I think I transitioned to the Fork Fix prior and then doing these episodes for the podcast, but I think I stopped about week 34 is what I think that's when I stopped. It might have been more than that, but that's what I needed. I needed to get through that transition until I am now accountable to myself. It becomes natural, but in the beginning it wasn't like that. That's what really kept me motivated. Now, am I telling you need to get on YouTube and do videos? No, I'm going to talk about some ideas that I have to help with accountability. Now, if you've gotten this far into the podcast and you don't even give two hoots about whole food plant-based living because you stumbled on this, or your friends or family and you're listening to it to see what I have to say, this could be applied to anything in life, guys. It doesn't have to be about nutrition, but really that's what I'm digging in here, because I still feel like it's fork first and then the rest will follow. But I think there's still some tools to set yourself up for success, and I think accountability is one of them. And so I started doing a little research. I started doing some digging on the Googles, right? So you know how that goes. I just searched on Google and to see what comes up for accountability. And I'm going to read something to you. So, and I don't even know who this is. There's a couple different, I think on Entrepreneur, I found some stuff. This one is, I don't even know what the website is. I think it's called the Better You. And I'm just going to kind of give them a little plug. I have no idea what that website's about, but this is just the first thing that comes up on Google. So good for you, Better You, because you get that top slot, and it isn't even sponsored. So anyways, it says research studies display that publicity, oh my gosh, no, I can't read. Publicly committing your goals to someone gives you a 65% chance of completing them. So what does that mean? That means just saying it into the world, putting it out there, putting it on your Facebook profile. I'm starting this new, you could say diet, but I don't want to say that. But if you want to, that's fine. Because in the beginning, that's what I called it, because I thought, well, we'll see how this goes. I don't even know. Now it's definitely a lifestyle for me, but you could put it out there into the world and your chances of success are 65%. And that's fabulous, considering that I think only just a 1 or 2 in 10 diets. I don't even know what the statistics are, but people go on diets and you can't sustain it. Right, guys? So, and some of you might be saying, well, it's only been 9 months for you. We'll see where you're at in a year. Well, and I understand. I get that. And we'll see where I'm at in a year, but I think you'll be surprised. I know this is something that I can sustain for the rest of my life. And that's what you need to ask yourself. But anyways, getting back to accountability, 65% chance. So put it out there into the world if this is something you want to do. And sometimes it's a little scary. So if you're apprehensive, you're not ready to tell people what you're doing, and people will be critical, guys. They're going to be critical. They're going to be like, where do you get your protein? You're going to just curl up and die without your chicken and your meat. They're going to tell you that. I thought that way before I started this way of eating. So, be ready for that. That's coming your way, and it can get you down, and you can feel all alone in a sea of meat eaters. and cheese lovers. And, I'm just a recovering cheese lover and meat lover. But now I am, I'm all for the plants, guys, all for the plants. So anyways, that's a really good way to set yourself up for success. But listen to this. This is the big one, the big kahuna of them all. All right. However, having a specific accountability partner increases that success rate to 95%. Did you hear that? 95 freaking percent. That's insane. So I thought, well, this is just some random website, right? So I did search some more and I found over and over again, it's 95%, guys. But something that's very important is it says specific. So that's where like your family is great or a friend is great, but you really need to get connected, excuse me, with someone who is in the journey with you, going on the journey, or have like they're a few steps ahead of you, or they've been whole food plant-based for years and years and years, and that's what they experience. So you need to find your people, and that's the tips I hear. It's just so critical, because if you want to be successful, so for me, I didn't have that. I was in the 65% range, not the 95% range, because I didn't get the feedback. I had people message me and I had people ask me questions, so that did give me feedback, but not for my journey. Like if I'm talking about my struggles, the kids had Oreos in the house and I wanted to eat one, and that kind of stuff where you have a hard week. You need to share that stuff. You need to share your successes. You need to share your challenges, your struggles, all of that. So here are my tips for that. First off, you need to get into some Facebook groups, do some research, find some groups. And again, you got to be careful. If you want to be in a group that is suited to what you're doing. If you are, and I'm in a lot of groups, I'm in vegan groups, I'm in whole food plant-based groups, but if I stay just in the vegan group, that's not how I'm eating. Although I am eating vegan, I'm not eating a lot of the vegan junk food, and I'm not eating all of the added oils or tons of nuts or things of that nature. So if that's where I want to find my support, you're going to get conflicting information, and that's going to be another struggle for you. So if you're eating whole food plant-based, little to no oil, if that's what you're choosing to do, or that's where you want to end up, then find those people, search for those things. And I'll tell you, I have a group that I started. It's not very active because I haven't got the ball rolling. There's not a ton of people in there. You're welcome to join it. It's Whole Food Plant-Based Basics on Facebook. Just, if you pop on the Fork Fix Facebook page and you look at groups, it's there. You're welcome to click, ask to join, and I will accept you 150,000%. And we can get that ball rolling if you're a chatty person. I need to get some talking going on in there. But if you want to do that, there's, that's a group that I've started, and it's early and it's new, but it's there for you. And then also just, search for different, like Forks Over Knives has a group, and I'm in that. Nutrition Studies has, for the China study, they have it. Or, if you have any questions about any of that, I'm always open to talking with you or helping you out. Another thing is, if you're a writer, if you find that you love to write, journaling is a great tool. That would be another way. You're not going to get that feedback like you would from like talking back and forth with someone. But you're at least documenting it, and you can look back, and because you'll forget how it was, and then you can read that, and that reflection is so good. It's so good. And if you're a busy person and you're like, well, I don't even know if I could do that, right? I got a tip for you. If you have an iPhone, use your notes app. You can do a voice note. You can even date it by voice, and then, tell your note how your week, pick a day and tell how the week went. Tell how you're doing, what things you want to try to do next week, what things you want to keep up. I will tell you, the other thing that I did is I didn't write down my weight, but what I would do, and I know that some people they would tell you don't ever get on the scale, because the scale doesn't always tell you what's going on with your body, but it is a good, like for me, I need to see it. I'm a visual person, so I need to see it. And it's nice for me to get on the scale in the morning and just see what's happening with my body. And I've learned some things too. I've learned that certain things I eat will affect me in certain ways. I've learned that there's a little delay in like weightlifting. Usually that if there's any weight to be lost, it comes days days later. I think it's in the muscle repair or something. I really don't know the science behind that, but there's some delayed weight loss with that kind of stuff. But yeah, you don't want to get obsessive, and it's hard to not get obsessive with the scale, especially if it starts moving down and goes back up, and then you're like, oh, what did I do wrong? And sometimes you didn't do anything wrong. You just maybe didn't get as much sleep or things like that. That's another thing to document too, is how are you sleeping? I will tell you though, food first, and you will start sleeping. You will sleep like, I'm not going to say like a baby, because I have 8 kids and I'll tell you not a damn one of them slept. So I don't know who came up with that saying, but anyways, sleep like the dog. Like when the dog's asleep, she doesn't want to get up, but a baby, not so much. Okay. So anyways, moving on. I took a photo of the scale. So back to the scale in the morning, I would only take a picture if the scale went down, and I've kept track, and I should probably do like a time lapse, because I just take pictures so that I can look back and it has the date and I can see I was this weight on this date, and it kind of gives me some motivation. So that's another thing you can do. Or if you're techie, you got your iPhone there, you want to do some YouTube stuff, you don't have to like be doing anything crazy. You could start a channel. You could do the same thing I did, just document. That's what I just put it out there into the world. I've met some really freaking fabulous people through it. There's been some people that are on this journey because I shared those videos, and I just feel over the moon blessed for that. So if you want to put yourself out there in that way, you can always do that. Do the YouTube videos. Do like I did once a week or every other week or something. That would be a great thing, guys. That would be a great thing. And so many people could be inspired by your story. So that's another thing. The other thing that you could do is plant pure communities. There was a movie. It was Plant Pure Nation, I think it was called. And I think it was Nelson Campbell that did all of that. And he has pods. They're plant pods, and they're like groups. They're local groups. You can go on Plant Pure Communities and find a Plant Pure pod, and it's like a meetup group. We don't have one local to me. I've thought about actually creating one, but with the Rona, I didn't know how people would do in person, but I've considered it. I think that would be a great way, and I do think if you can make that connection, if you can do the face-to-face connection with someone, I have someone that we're doing that now, and it's so great. It fills me. It helps her. It's just such a blessing, I got to tell you. And I think it's really a good thing. But if you can have that face-to-face, that really can make a difference too, because then you've got a community of people that understand you and they know what you're doing and why. And everybody has different whys, but at least they can support you in your journey. So you can check that out. And the other thing, I'll just close with this. If you feel like you need some help in this area, that you need some accountability, shoot me an email. You can email me at bantsonplants@gmail.com. Again, it's Bants, BANDTS on plants, PLANTS @gmail.com. Feel free. All you spammers out there, don't be sending me anything crazy, but I would be happy to help you. I would be happy to, and we can, we could do all kinds of things. We could text, we could email, whatever, if you just need an ear, I'm here for you. So anyways, that's all I got for this week. I just want to thank you so much for watching. Please check me out on all the social medias. On Instagram, I like to share things there. Sometimes I'll share what I'm eating and food and my walks and all of that. So it's the Fork Fix on Instagram. Of course, please, follow along on Facebook. You can join that group there on Facebook as well. And if you're listening to this as a podcast, not just watching the video on YouTube, if you could leave me a review. Tell me what you think. I would love that. We can get the word out, spread the word about eating whole food, plant-based. So again, I'll leave you with this. Don't be screwed by food. Eat whole food, plant-based. I'll see you next week. Thanks again. Have a blessed one.